Hi, Bernadine. Thanks for talking to us about university councils. In Australia, we tend to take university autonomy for granted, but it's a concept that can be a bit tricky to explain clearly. So can you please tell us what you think we should understand when we're talking about this concept of autonomy with respect to universities in Australia?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for asking that. Autonomy, it does make us think of total freedom and independence. It does. Australian universities, like universities all over the world, do have autonomy, but they're not entirely free. And I should explain this. It doesn't mean absolute freedom to do anything a university wants to do with no constraints. Australian universities still receive government funding, and so they must operate within Australian laws. So universities are independent organisations, but they can't, for example, invent a new qualification. They must offer qualifications that are in line with the Australian qualifications framework, the AQF. They can't decide to offer a degree that takes 1 year instead of 3 to complete, because this is also governed by the AQF. And they can't continue to operate as a university unless they are registered and they maintain that registration with the Australian government. And to do this, they need to meet a number of quality criteria. So there's a lot of constraints on how they need to operate. For instance, the regulations around enrolling international students. So I've put a summary of these criteria in the reading materials. But in summary, if you ask me, how does a council manage an autonomous university? I would say that it's a major role and responsibility of a university council to ensure that the university as an organisation is successful within the constraints to autonomy.
Thanks, Bernadine. So autonomy has some similarities to the concept of independence, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, yeah. In fact, Australian universities have considerable independence for managing their own affairs. And these are things like budgeting or staffing, educational programming or research. So maybe I should take you through the 5 areas that we consider define this university autonomy or this kind of internal independence. The first one we're calling organisational autonomy. University councils hold this power. They have the power to make strategic decisions which steer the organisation towards its goals. Now, in doing so, this autonomy allows council to draw down on the key bodies which, for example, oversee the quality of teaching and research. That would be the academic board, or through the vice-chancellor and the vice-chancellor's key staff who manage the day-to-day operations, or even to student bodies which represent important university stakeholders. The second area of autonomy is the financial autonomy, and this is an important one. The university is independent in its administration of finance, including its budgeting, its investment in capital and equipment, in implementing university projects, in raising revenue, and for holding accountable all those key staff for those activities. So talking about staff, the third area is about staffing autonomy. And universities have got the autonomy to create a new position and to fill in vacant ones. They also manage their own promotion of academics. And importantly, they set the terms and conditions for staff remuneration and any other benefits. The final one is academic autonomy. And after all, universities are academic institutions by definition. So their autonomy includes the admission of students, managing student progress, disciplining those students. For teaching, this autonomy means creating the curriculum, the teaching methods, choosing the right textbooks, the assessment, and then monitoring the quality of those academic standards through things like a quality audit or course accreditation. And the final element of academic autonomy is research. And this means the autonomy to provide research training and supervision, and to set priorities for research funding, and to allow for the freedom to publish. So 5 key areas where a university is internally independent to manage its own affairs.
In the written material, Bernadine, academic programming and research are combined into one area. But that makes sense, what you've explained. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So functionally, the role of the council is to both guard and to manage that autonomy or independence.
Absolutely.
Understood correctly?
Absolutely. It is the council that provides the oversight and the assurance that as an organisation, the university is pursuing the best possible strategy for success within the laws and quality requirements. But council can't perform this alone. Council works as part of a system with the other important aspects of the university. So I've mentioned some of these earlier. The academic board monitors the quality of teaching and research and reports these to council. The vice-chancellor and executive team, along with all the other university staff who report right through to them, they run the day-to-day activities. We call this the business of the university. A well-running university relies on the efficiency and effectiveness of its business activities and the scrutiny of its academic board. Only then can council make the best decisions for the university and judge whether the university is on track to achieve its goals. So we think of this as a triangle. A is for academic, B for business, C for council. Each element, A, B, C, it's vital. They are independent, but they are interrelated. And it is council that brings together the A, the academic, and B, the business, to achieve C, good corporate governance. This model shows us the entire accountability structure of a university. And we visit these ABC models in session 4.
Thanks, Bernadine. Just one quick point I'd like to get you to confirm. In Australian universities, tell us a bit more about executive team. Who is on the executive team?
So generally, Anne, it's a small team, and it's the team that directly reports to the Vice-Chancellor. So in this team, you'd have the academics, the Deputy Vice-Chancellors report through to the Vice-Chancellor, and then the professional staff team, maybe a Chief Financial Officer, perhaps a Chief Informations Officer, the Human Resources Officer or Vice President, whatever their titles are, generally 6 to 8 members who run the university operations, report to the Vice-Chancellor. Now, reporting to them are the entire staff of the university, whether academics or professional staff.